Welcome to More Patience, More Impact, More Income, the podcast for real holistic medical practitioners who want to grow their high-impact, high-income practice without selling out. And now, here's your host, Chris Axelrad.
Welcome back to More Patience, More Impact, More Income. You're listening to part 2 of the series. Let's jump back in.
There are people who take knowledge of how to manipulate. There's people who take knowledge of how to manipulate. And let me tell you something. This is the fine line of marketing and selling in medicine. Because when you start to learn principles of marketing, you start to learn principles of sales, which, by the way, no matter what anybody wants to think about themselves, when you own a business and you own a practice, you are selling. You're selling something. When you accept money in payment for your treatment, you are selling treatment. And people think of in many ways, the word selling, the concept of selling is misunderstood just as much as the concept of power, is misunderstood just as much as the concept of wellness and all these other things that these terms that people throw around thinking that they're so smart and they understand all these things. They really have no idea what they're talking about. A sale is the unification of a person with something they want. A sale is actually, on a very fundamental level, is a healing. It is a making whole of something. Now, just like anything else, we can sell things that people really don't need. We can sell things that aren't of benefit to people. We can sell things deceptively. And when we learn the skills of marketing and selling, we do start to have knowledge that can be used as a power, not for good, but again, for deception, manipulation, and really just to trick people into taking money out of their bank account and giving it to us. So this is one of the reasons why I'm so hardcore about mindset. I'm so hardcore about always trying to stay aligned with a sense of loving kindness and mercy and gentleness, forgiveness, gratitude, because I know that the knowledge that I have gives me tremendous power. It gives me, and you know what? The more knowledge that you have in the realm of what I teach you in this program, you are going to become more powerful. In fact, go ahead and chat a yes if you have had that moment where using the free consult script, using the indoctrination sequence, using some of the language that I teach you guys in your ads, in your marketing, or the free talks or whatever, that you haven't had that moment where you said, whoa, okay, the way that this person is responding to me, I've never really felt that kind of thing before, and I have a lot of power over this person that I didn't, like the way people, like you just see how you have taken somebody from where they were to a whole different place, right? And the power that gives you over them, right? And you see how easily that power could be abused. And it is abused by a lot of people. There are people who get to a place where they take advantage of it. And you don't want to do that. And that's why it's important to always make sure that you're doing that mindset work and just really reinforcing and being very, very intentional about staying aligned with the most loving, kind, merciful, clear, and inspired version of yourself, so that you just don't even have to worry about it. You don't even have to worry about it, because the more that we align with that part of ourselves that is just and kind and loving, we start to have a much stronger sense of when we are exiting that frame, when we're exiting that frame. And when we start to exit that frame, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right at all. And it's very obvious. And I would even say that there's pain and discomfort associated with it on an emotional level. That, of course, you always have the choice to keep moving forward into that realm. But, to me, anyone who has really experienced and has become more grounded in a sense of kindness and mercy and gentleness within their heart, it just really doesn't ever want to go into that. It's kind of like if you, I guess what I would say is it's like someone who has at one time in their life been very sick because they ate too much pineapple. I don't know, say, ate too much pineapple, got really sick. Now when you see pineapple, you're just like, no, can't do it. Can't eat it. Don't want to eat it. I wouldn't mind if I never saw another pineapple in my life again. But you know what? I'm probably going to see pineapple every once in a while. And I just need to, learn how to not worry about it. But I'm definitely never going to eat it again. And this is how it is in terms of when we start to develop that intuitive sense of power, but power that is rooted in loving kindness. Power that is rooted in loving kindness.
If you're ready to fill your practice and keep it full without the stress and overwhelm, then get instant access to your free autopilot patient attraction playbook. Now at www.highimpactpracticesystems.com/autopilot.
So this, we will say at the center, as we know, is spirit, or what we call Shen in the Taoist/Chinese medicine terminology, right? And then the outer layer, I like to just call it the manifest world, what we see around us. And in the Taoist terminology, we would call that Jing. Okay. And then the layer in between that is, we can just call it the emotional layer for now. Here's where the actual power is. Okay. And here's where the exercise of the power, the direction of the power comes from. Here, the power is in the emotional layer, and the direction of the power comes from the internal. Okay. And really, honestly, this manifest world layer is, in my opinion, very thin. It's a very thin layer. And Shen is also a very small but powerful, really omnipotent force. Okay. And we are either the most powerful positioning that we can have in life, in my opinion. The most powerful positioning is to leverage power in this direction. And this direction being from the spirit outwards, so that we're spiritually directed in our emotional life. And then that emotional life directs the physical life. And this is honestly how we become incredibly powerful, clinically and personally in our lives, to attract the kind of patients that we want, or actually to attract the patients who most need our help, which are the patients that we want, right? And to have the most profound impact on those people. Also, to attract the people into our lives that are not going to be our patients, but that are just going to be part of our mission in life. When we are directing ourselves from that layer of spirit and projecting that energy into our emotional and psychological space, our impact on the manifest world becomes incredible. That's power. That's power. And again, you don't have to have a lot of knowledge. It does not take a lot of book knowledge. It does not take a lot of memorized facts and figures to have this kind of power. What it does take is a clear understanding of who you are, why you're here, and a clear understanding of what's truly valuable to you in this life, not in the material sense. Not that I'm saying that that it's bad to want material things, that it's bad to buy material things, that it's bad to own material things. This is not what I'm saying. Because again, things are just things. Things do not have any inherent purpose or value other than what we assign to them. And that's it. If you think of like a tiger living out in nature, there's nothing in that tiger's life that is inherently valuable or not valuable to that tiger, right? It's all dependent upon what the tiger's needs are at that moment. The cave becomes very valuable as a place to get shelter if it's really cold outside or raining or whatever. But once it's not cold and once it's not raining, the tiger doesn't get any value out of the cave. It actually needs to leave the cave because now it becomes even more valuable as food. So as humans, we get to decide. And actually, we create value for each other. And we can actually create valuable things for the world. But at the end of the day, the world, animals, and nature doesn't really care about the stuff we create. Has no value to nature whatsoever. So we get to decide what's valuable to us, and we get to decide what's not valuable to us. And it's so important to let your patients make that decision for themselves as well. I talk about this a lot in the training, but when we are trying to force or convince patients that they should value something, whether it's our treatment, whether it's our treatment plan, whether it's a certain thing that we've told them that they should do or not do, and then we take it personally when they don't value that. All that does is it flips this power equation where we start to look for our power out here. We're looking for power to be derived from the manifest world, which again, I just said really has no sense of inherent of value or not. I talk about in my book, actually in my Awakening the Seed book, I think at one point I may have taken it out because I thought maybe it's too morbid for like someone who's never met me or knows me. But, at some point in there, I said, and I do say very clearly in the book that, look, nature doesn't care whether you have a baby or not at this point, right? Nature's got plenty of babies. There's plenty of humans out here. And nature just works a certain way, and she's beautiful and amazing. She's also ruthless and exacting. And there is a point where nature just won't do something anymore. There is a point when a fruit is no longer ripe and is no longer edible. And no matter what you do, you cannot make that fruit go back in time. And nature doesn't cry about that. All nature does is just make more fruit. But the story I use is the story of a polar bear standing out on the edge of this huge ice sheet, looking out over the ocean. It's a beautiful view. And the polar bear is just this peaceful, like portrait of a polar bear looking out over this beautiful ocean. And maybe it's the sunrise. And then all of a sudden, the iceberg the ice sheet breaks off right where the polar bear is standing, and the polar bear falls in the ocean, gets sucked under by the current of the ice sheet, and never comes up, never makes it. Polar bear dies. There was no human around to feel sad about it, or angry, or upset. It just disappeared, and nature doesn't cry about that.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.